The movie opens at the American Embassy in Thailand. Troutman and Robert have arrived on a mission. They drive into the city looking for one man, John Rambo. They showed his picture to lots of people, but it appeared hopeless until they found a man that pointed them in the right direction. There is about to be a fight exhibition between him and another man, while other people cheered and put bets on who might win. The fight starts, and after some back and forth, it looks like Rambo is not coming out the winner. Troutman and Robert are watching from the crowd as Rambo gets beaten up by the man, but Rambo manages to take down his opponent with some skilled combat. The crowd cheer his name as he gets back on the boat. Troutman tries to get his attention, but the boat rides off into the river. Troutman and Robert find the temple where Rambo is living and go inside to look for him. He is working on some construction when he suddenly hears a familiar voice. He can't believe Troutman found him here. They take a walk together, and Rambo tells Troutman about living in the monastery and doing the stick fighting to earn some extra money for himself and the temple. Robert shows him some photos and tells him that he is needed in Afghanistan. The people there are being killed by the Russian army. They are being exterminated, and thanks to American missiles they are fighting back. But there is one area that still needs help. Troutman is going, and he wants Rambo to come along, but Rambo is done fighting in wars. His war is over. Troutman tries to convince one more time alone, telling him he belongs on the battlefield, not in a monastery, but Rambo is firm in saying no. Troutman makes it to Afghanistan with some soldiers. It's quiet, a little too quiet. Something is wrong here, and Troutman can feel it. Then they see it. A giant fighter helicopter comes rushing into their position. They try to fight back, but they couldn't match up to the powerful helicopter. They know they have lost. Rambo is fixing a wagon when Robert comes with the bad news. He tells Rambo that Troutman and his squad have been captured and the government can't do anything about it. This triggers something in Rambo. He's not letting his friend die in enemy hands. But Robert tells him he has to go alone. They can't help him if gets captured. The US government will deny any involvement. At the Afghan-Pakistan border town, Rambo is walking in a crowded market looking for a weapons shop. He finds a store, but he's not looking for guns. He's looking for a man, Musa Ghani. Musa comes from the back room, asking if he's a tourist or something, because he doesn't look like any of the soldiers that came before him. Musa knows where Troutman is being held. It's near the border, and Musa has the supplies that he asked for stored here. Musa is concerned about going in with just one man, especially someone who looks like he's never fought a day in his life. Musa even makes fun of him, saying to go back home.
But by the way you look, I can see you have no experience in war, do you?
I've fired a few shots.
But they're not alone in their conversation. Someone is watching them. At the Russian fort, Troutman is brought into the office of Colonel Zayson, the commander of the fort. He congratulates Troutman for being the first American to be caught here. Troutman tries to talk back, but that doesn't faze Zayson, who asks Troutman to cooperate. He wants information about the missile's delivery. Troutman doesn't want to tell him, but Zayson turns mean. That's when Troutman doubles down, telling him that Russia have been losing to everyone lately, and they will lose to the Afghanis here too, because they never give up. Meanwhile, on a windy mountain road, Rambo and Musa make their way across the land. Musa tells him that across history, no nation has been able to conquer Afghanistan, no matter how hard they tried. Then, they spot a Soviet helicopter, and they start moving again. Back at the fort, Zayson has imprisoned Troutman in a dark cell. Rambo and Musa hide from fighter planes in a cave. They travel through the cave, talking along the way. Meanwhile, Troutman is being tortured by Zayson for information about the missiles, but Troutman gives them nothing. This angers Zayson, who hits Troutman. He points a gun and asks again. That's when the spy from earlier came to tell the Russians about the arrival of Rambo. Rambo and Musa make it to the village with their supplies. Everyone's attention is on Rambo because he looks different than anyone. Musa tells Rambo about the Mujahideen fighters that are waiting for weapons to take the fight to Russia themselves. When they get to the hospital, Rambo sees all the terrible things war brings to people. Later, the leaders gather for a meeting. Yuri draws a map of the fort and tells them how they can make their way inside and where the prisoners are kept, and to make their way out using the sewer system. The leaders are concerned about the mission because the blowback will be on them once the Americans leave. They tell Rambo to wait, but he decides to go alone. But before he gets up to leave, Masood tells him about how the Russians have been killing the Afghanis, women and even children. He tells Rambo they will help him free Troutman if they promise to tell the world about what is happening here. Rambo and Musa were walking when a little boy called Hamid came over talking to them, asking lots of questions. Hamid takes Rambo's knife and plays with it with some skill. Musa then shows him a sport the people are playing. They're using horses and dragging a sheep carcass to put on a circle on the ground. They invite Rambo to play, and he wants to try it out. Musa tells him the rules, and he gets a horse to get in the game. Of course, he fell the first time, but he managed to get back on the horse and get himself the victory. But suddenly, Musa spots a Russian helicopter. It fires rockets at the game, and everyone runs away. They tried to fight back and run, but the helicopters were too powerful, and they shot down anyone that was moving. Rambo, after seeing the chaos created by the helicopter, decides to do something about it. He gets the people to safety and tries to take the attention away from the people. He manages to get on the minigun and shoot back, blowing up one helicopter. Seeing this, Jason decides to fly away. The commotion has calmed down now, but Rambo sees all the hell that has come to this village. Masood tells him this is what happens every time and to come with them to the border to escape, but Rambo is going to the fort. Musa also says he'll stay to show Rambo the way. Hamid wants to come too, but he is too young for this kind of mission. Meanwhile, Jason is still trying to break Troutman. He even tells him there is something special ready for him. That night, Rambo is at the base and finds a mine while attempting to sneak inside. The place is full of guards, so they're left to crawl through the bombed land. But it's not just them. Hamid had followed them here. Rambo tells Hamid to stay outside, and he goes in with Musa. Inside the fort, Troutman sees them drag a prisoner out of the cell. But outside, Rambo and Musa make it into the compound. They go around setting up bombs with a 10-minute timer in different locations around the camp. Musa knocks over a can, so a guard fires a flare gun to get a better look in the dark. Other guards come with dogs looking for intruders, but Rambo is hidden on the roof. Rambo was still sneaking around when he saw a fleet of tanks and vehicles, so he crawled under the tank to use it to get closer to the fort. He hangs under the tank and uses it to sneak past the guards. He climbs the building and drops into the prison section. He looks down to see a man with a flamethrower. He manages to get around a guard and make his way down the stairs. He spots Jason getting out the interrogation room. He gets over and sets up the bomb on the door. Rambo only has 4 minutes, so he makes his way deeper. He gets the keys from a sleeping guard and keeps looking. He gets to the end and finds Troutman, who is surprised he made it inside. Even more surprising, Hamid made it all the way inside without being caught. They almost get caught, so Rambo picks up a gun and shoots at the guards coming through the door. Hearing the gunfire, even more guards make it to the location. The bombs go off outside, sending the place into chaos. Jason runs back into the cells and shoots at Rambo, but he hits Hamid instead. The big guy shot a grenade, injuring Rambo. Rambo carries Hamid to safety with Musa, and they escape through an opening to the sewer system. Hamid is hurt, but they're not alone. They're followed by some soldiers who shot at them. So Rambo sets up another bomb. The soldiers catch up and start shooting at the water, but the bomb goes off, closing off the tunnel. Rambo breaks the bars and they escape. But he's not done. He grabs an RPG and shoots down a truck before taking the horses and running. Jason is pissed, so he asks Troutman where to find Rambo. But Troutman tells him that he doesn't have to look, because Rambo will come looking for him, and he won't have mercy on them.
Oh, God would have mercy. He won't.
In a cave, Rambo bandages up Hamid's wound. Musa tells him about a trail out of this place, but it's dangerous. Hamid wants to stay and fight, but Rambo tells Musa to take the boy and escape. He's going back to save Troutman. He hands Musa the gun and puts Hamid on the horse. He even gives Hamid his good luck necklace. They ride off, leaving Rambo in the cave. The next morning, the Russian soldiers along with Jason, and they roll out looking for Rambo. But he's on a cliff, climbing up the mountain. He makes it to the top while Troutman is being tortured inside. Rambo takes down a guard and manages to sneak back into the fort. In the prison, he sees them torturing Troutman with the flamethrower, but Rambo is there to rescue him. They take down the guards and free the other prisoners. As Jason gets back to the fort, every prisoner is running out. Rambo and Troutman make a plan to take a helicopter. As soon as it lands and Jason gets out, Rambo makes his way to the helicopter and takes out the pilot. He gets the helicopter flying as Jason and the troops shoot at them. Rambo shoots back using the helicopter, but it's damaged, so they make an emergency landing in the desert. They run away in time before the helicopter blew up. Rambo and Troutman run through the desert to get to the border, while they are being hunted down by Jason in his helicopters. They manage to climb up onto a ledge, and they keep going. Jason and his helicopter crew catch up to Rambo and Troutman. Rambo tells him to look for cover and Troutman finds a cave entrance. Rambo has assembled his favorite weapon, the bow and arrow, and shoots down a helicopter with just an arrow. Jason's helicopter chases him, and he makes it into the cave just in time. The soldiers rope down and get into the cave chasing after Rambo and Troutman. Rambo finds a radio and talks to Jason before proceeding to take down another soldier. Rambo uses his bow to take down even more soldiers before climbing up the same entrance. He gets to the top and gets caught by Korov, who throws him down the hill. They get into a fight around the hill, but Rambo manages to get a rope around his neck and send him down the cave with bombs. Rambo and Troutman thought it was over, but then a large convoy of tanks and trucks with a helicopter came up in front of them. Zyson tells them to give up and fires warning shots. Rambo is done and shoots back, so it becomes just 2 men against a small army, but they quickly become overwhelmed until thousands of mujahideen come running in from behind on their horses. Zyson kills a lot of them with his helicopter, and then Rambo manages to get himself into a tank. He drives head-on towards the helicopter, and neither him or Zyson give up, so they end up crashing into each other. Everyone holds their breath waiting, but Rambo is still alive there, and he climbs out. Finally, after it all calms down, Rambo says goodbye to Musa and Hamid, and the movie ends as Rambo and Troutman drive off exhausted but also satisfied. In Burma, massive unrest has been happening across the country. No one is safe, protesters are killed, journalists killed, and young men are beaten and made to serve in the military. It is all against a certain group of people, the Karen, who are farming Christians in the nation. In Thailand, Rambo has put his past behind him and settled down to be a snake farmer. They corner a cobra, and Rambo manages to catch it. But that's not all. They keep going and catch multiple snakes in the same small river. They take their catch back to the boat and ride off down the river to sell it in the market. Rambo then manages to catch a fish on his way, but he chooses to give it to a little boy. They reach the village and park the boat. Rambo takes his snakes out and walks into the village. Meanwhile, there is a snake show happening with lots of people watching. The organizer is mad that Rambo is late with his snakes. He pays Rambo and tells him to get more pythons next time. Rambo sets down the snakes in a cage as a group of Americans walk over to talk to him. Michael introduces himself and asks to talk. He wants to rent Rambo's boat to get up the river into Burma, but Burma is a war zone, and Rambo doesn't go that far north for anything. Michael tells him that they are missionaries and volunteer here to bring medical supplies for the people. They want to change people's lives, but Rambo thinks without weapons, they won't be changing anything and walks away. Sarah thinks she can convince Rambo, so she goes over to him and keeps asking for the reasons why Rambo refuses to help them, but he just tells her to go home. In Burma, the soldiers have captured some farmers, and they are at a rice field. They set up some mines in the field and make the farmers walk into the field. They start running. One runs into a mine, but the leader eye has had enough, so they just shoot down the rest of the farmers. Back in Thailand, Rambo is working on making a metal tool when Sarah walks in to ask him to reconsider his decision. She is clearly upset that Rambo isn't fazed by the massacres going on so close to him. He just tells her to go, so she walks away with Michael as Rambo beats the metal rod. That night in Takeder village, the soldiers are raiding the town and putting the people on the trucks. They go around breaking doors and dragging the boys outside. Their leader, Ai, speaks to the villagers, telling them that these boys are now his soldiers, and he will burn down the village if they try to fight back or ask the Karen rebels for help. Meanwhile, Rambo is still in his workshop, making a propeller for his boat. He steps out in the rain and finds Sarah on his boat. He goes over and asks why she came back, and he doesn't want to help her. Her friends are at the hotel, and that the Burmese people need their help. But Rambo questions their motives to be selfish. Killing is as easy as breathing when people get pushed. He again tells her to go home, so she leaves the boat. But before she walks away, she tells him that he actually cares about people because he didn't just take the money. She doesn't want to lose her life, but she wants to save others as much as she can. This finally convinces Rambo to help them. The next morning, the whole team is on the boat talking about the war. Sarah wants to talk to Rambo because he's actually doing this for free. She thanks him for doing this and asks why the river looks empty. He tells her that he came from Arizona and his name, how he had to fight the Vietnam War, but nothing more than that. She tells him she's a teacher too, and the way she looked at him rubs Michael the wrong way, so he gets up and interrupts the conversation. Turns out, Michael and Sarah are engaged. The ride goes on into the night as they slowly make their way upriver. Everyone is asleep that night when Rambo spots some lights on land. Everyone wakes up, and Rambo tells them it's pirates and to stay down and stay quiet. They slowly try to make their way across without being spotted as the pirates have a party. They thought they made it past, but they hear an engine starting. The pirates start shooting, and Rambo tells them to stay down and not look them in the eye as the pirates come across their boat and hook it. The pirate tells Rambo this is their part of the river, but when they spot Sarah, they instantly want to have her. Rambo offers them money, but they want both. It looks like they have no choice until Rambo pulls out his gun and quickly takes out all the pirates. Michael shouts at him for killing, but Rambo chokes him and tells him about what they wanted to do. Rambo wants to go back, but Sarah wants to keep going. Despite Michael's protesting, she convinces them both so they keep going. In the morning, they reach their destination and unload all the equipment they brought. As the team gets off the boat, Sarah stays and tries to thank him by giving him a necklace before walking away. Rambo starts his boat as the team walks into the jungle. They start their long journey into the jungle while Rambo makes his way down the river. Rambo finds the pirate boat at the same time as the team gets to Low village. Rambo drives the boat with the dead pirates on it to shore and poured gas all over it, then lit it on fire, leaving his knife there too. At the village, Sarah is giving food to some people and Jeff is preaching the Bible. Sarah goes around the village, finally ending up in a hut where Michael is helping a wounded boy. But suddenly, something explodes. The army starts bombing the village as everyone scatters around, and Michael carries the hurt boy to safety, but there is nowhere to run. The soldiers come in shooting and stomping on anyone they can find. Sarah looks on as the once peaceful village descends into chaos. Michael gets caught by a soldier, and the people get shot en masse with giant guns. The soldiers grab Sarah out of the water, and they take her away as the village burns. Rambo is back home, still thinking about Sarah's words, while the villagers get harassed by the soldiers. Sarah is locked up in a hut, alone, while the soldiers watch on. I tells his soldier to bring out one of them to take to the pigs. That night, the storm rages on as Rambo remembers how his life has led up to this point. He wakes up as Arthur gets into his house. He tells him that the team isn't back yet, and the embassy isn't willing to help him. Arthur has mercenaries ready, but he needs Rambo to take them to the village. Rambo gets to his workshop and bangs out at a hot piece of metal. The boat takes off with Rambo and the mercenaries on board. They even start singing while on the river. Lewis is really not ready to be here, and they talk about the generals making millions making meth, as Lewis is only here to get the money, and he wants to leave as soon as possible. Rambo silently listens. SN Lewis rambles on. Schoolboy introduces himself, and he is the more laid back of the crew. Back at the village, Sarah hears footsteps coming towards her. It's eye-smoking and doesn't respond, simply walks away. Rambo gets to the village with the crew, and Lewis is mad that the only support they have is Myant and a small boy. When they hear that there are 100 soldiers, everyone starts to freak out. They see Rambo getting off the boat and tell him to stay on the boat because he'll slow them down.
He's the boatman. He stays with the fucking boat.
The crew make their way through the tough jungle. They see a large bomb in the middle of the forest. Myant tells them it's a bomb from World War II as they walk past it. They get to the village and see the massacre that went down, and they are disgusted. Myant sends the boy home and tells them to watch their step because there are mines everywhere. They start arguing. Some of the team doesn't want to continue with the mission, but Schoolboy wants to at least see if they can do it, and Lewis agrees. But Myant spots soldiers, so they run to get cover. They see soldiers unloading people off a truck. The soldiers are making bets while they throw mines in the water and make the people walk into it. They all make it across, and that just makes the soldiers tell them to run back across. The crew just watches and does nothing, but Rambo runs in with his bow and arrow, shooting down the soldiers one by one. They want to go back now, but Rambo says no and points the arrow at Lewis.
Or die. Or something.
They agree and move out towards the next village. That night at the village, the soldiers are drinking, while Sarah is still locked up with I looking at her. The crew are on the truck as they make a plan on how to storm the village and set their watches to 15 mins. The truck gets to the village as Schoolboy sneaks onto the guard's post and kills the sleepy guard. The guard at the entrance just lets them pass without checking. They get off the truck one by one and get to their positions. Rambo gets off last and sneaks around while the soldiers are distracted by the show. As the crew advance looking for the missionaries, Rambo sees a few in the cage and cuts them open. One of them is Michael, and he points Rambo to the direction of Sarah. The party is still raging. Rambo tells Diaz to take care of the guys he freed. The soldiers get even more aggressive to the girls. Rambo walks down the stream. By now, the soldiers are all over the dancing girls, tossing them between each other. Rambo sees a young boy get taken to I. A soldier took a girl somewhere dark and threw her on the ground, but Enju caught her. When the man looked down, he was taken down by him. Rambo finally spots Sarah. He rushes in, but then sees a drunk soldier making his way towards her. Time is up now, so Schoolboy starts shooting any guard he can see. Rambo sees the soldier drag Sarah away, so he follows them. She is tired and can't defend herself. And just when the man got her into his room, Rambo tells Lewis there is one more left, even though time is up. Lewis leaves him to meet with his crew. Michael wants to go back for Sarah, but but Lewis tackled him and made him stay. And just like that, Rambo caught the man in time and saved Sarah. On their way out, Rambo and Sarah run into the group of soldiers coming from the party. They run down the stream and make their way out, but 2 guards spot them. Just as they were about to shoot, Schoolboy catches both of them with his sniper. Rambo takes Sarah and Schoolboy and makes their way out into the jungle. It's all quiet now, and I kicks the boy out of his room and goes back inside. Morning comes and everyone is running towards the boat. By now, the soldiers have figured out the prisoners are gone, so they run out into the jungle to chase them down again. Rambo ties up Sarah's injured foot and they get moving again. The soldiers load up on trucks with dogs and guns to find the escaped prisoners. They jump out and all flood the jungle while Lewis steps on a landmine, alerting the soldiers to their position. Michael is a doctor, so he starts to help with Lewis. Meanwhile, Rambo, Sarah, and Schoolboy are still running in the jungle, with soldiers and dogs after them. At the cave, Rambo tells them to head to the river, where they'll find the boat, while he stays and keeps the soldiers occupied. Schoolboy shoots to attract the soldiers and takes off with Sarah. The other group also starts to move. The dogs have Rambo's scent now and track him down as he runs fast across the jungle. He sets up the mine just before the soldiers get there and ties it to the cloth. The dogs were chasing the cloth and they found it hidden, so they started digging with all the soldiers around them. This blows up the mine, wiping out a large area. Schoolboy sees that the rest of his crew have been caught by the soldiers now and he has to do something. The crew gets beaten up badly one by one. They were about to be executed when Rambo takes over the machine gun and shoots all the soldiers, making them scatter. The guys even picked up guns and defended themselves. The gunfight becomes chaotic and the mercenaries are coming out on top using their combat skills. Rambo finally runs out of bullets and he has to reload. Even Michael gets in on the action, tackling I and beating him with a rock. And suddenly the Karen rebels come out rushing from the jungle, just in time to save the remaining people. Rambo gets back on his gun and shoots down more soldiers, but a warboat comes by, giving the advantage to the soldiers with its giant flamethrower. Rambo tries to shoot it down, but he gets shot in the process, but he manages to take down a truck full of soldiers, and an RPG blows up the boat. It's over. They've won. Sarah runs through the field looking for her fiancé as Rambo looks over the battlefield with a sad look on his face. Sarah and Michael reunite and hug each other tight. She sees Rambo from afar and the mercenaries who gave their lives for their safe return. After some time has passed, Rambo finally returns to America, back to the horse farm where he grew up. Finally, after all these years, he can be at peace. Thanks for watching our movie recaps. We've got something special for film fans, a curated selection of top-tier gear for an ultimate home movie experience. Click the link in the description to browse our selections on our website.